This is 61 years after the event. Shortly then I got a crazy idea that if we could sneak through Germany unnoticed, we could possibly get all the way to the Swiss border. It was 200-300 miles, but that's only, what, 2 days intensive bike ride, and then if we would swim across the Rhine River and get into Switzerland, and there we would feel that the Swiss would not return us to the commies. But before we got some 3 miles away from the border, we met a German border guard. So I said, okay, this is it. And we were riding downhill and he was pushing his bicycle uphill. So we stopped. I introduced myself, introduced my wife, and told him that we had just escaped. And we expected that he would arrest us. And this was a man in a German uniform, you know. 5-6 years earlier, I would have gunned him down without any regrets. That's what the uniform, that's what the Germans were for target practice. What else is new? So here we were in his hands, and he gives us a big smile and says, "Welcome to Germany." And you know, I was on the verge of crying. And I mean, me right now. After all this, first after the experience during the German occupation, then the communists, and here all of a sudden, a man representing the law gives you such a cordial welcome. And not only that, he told us, I have some business to take care of, so keep going. And the last house in this village, the last house on the right-hand side is mine. Go there and my wife will give you something to eat and drink. Well, we did. Well, then there was a lot of questioning and a lot of paperwork. Then he called somewhere to his headquarters. The headquarters were in Weiden. It's an old, typical German town. So we were taken there. From there, we were taken over by American occupational forces, CIC, CIA. More questioning. Finally, they sent us to a refugee camp. Now, this is the refugee camp. Barracks, and in the barracks, people. At first, you come there and you have big plans that you will start new life, emigrate to wherever. You know, United States, Canada, Brazil, Australia, Argentina, wherever, just away from the counties. And then you meet people who already live in this shack 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, and it turns out that they have no chance of getting anywhere because they have TB or they are somehow disabled. For example, next to us was a carpenter who, as an apprentice, cut off one of his fingers and a sucker. That was enough for him to be rejected by the consulates of any country that he tried. Why should I don't know, Venezuela or take a carpenter with 9 fingers when they can find a dozen carpenters with 10 fingers each? And these people, they got so demoralized that it was really pitiful. Men pretty soon start stealing, breaking into tobacco shops. Women start selling themselves, since they live in such a shack. It's hard to find customers. Anyway, the demoralization is one of the main problems in these camps. We came across a camp where people have been living since World War I, and this was in 1950. Well, we all of a sudden were one of the rare birds. We were offered emigration to New Zealand, to some new government project. The name of the place was Peacemaking. And my wife, who was a foreign language teacher, would immediately get a job as a foreign language teacher there. I was a physicist. Oh yes, there will be plenty to do for you. And so we just lived in a euphoria for about half a dozen hours, and then I don't know why. I said, it's a fraud. And my wife was mad at me, why would it? And I had no explanation. I couldn't explain why I distrusted the agent who promised that. But well, then the date of our departure came. We were supposed to go to Hamburg, and from Hamburg by ship to India, and from India to New Zealand. Then everything was all right, but our transit visa in India were delayed, and something else. And finally, we got so delayed that in order to catch our ship, we couldn't go by train. We had to go by bus. And so I thought, well, it's okay with me. But I happened to have a friend there who had a map of Germany, and I looked at the map, and all of a sudden everything made sense. The route that we would take came within at most 5, probably 4 miles of the border of East Germany. And we were supposed to go there deep at night. So I called a meeting of the group and I told them, listen, this is what I suspect. It turned out that other people suspected the same thing. So we just prepared good kitchen knives and made breadcrumbs out of old cables that were there. And we decided that we will not eat anything, not drink anything, not smoke anything that might put us to sleep. And if the driver and the agent who if the bus takes a wrong turn, then we immediately kill them before anything happens. Well, very probably the agent had somebody within the group who informed him, and the bus never came. But I wanted to, so the same thing somehow petered out, but I wanted to have, to be sure that this was a fraud. So,
if anybody has to, it sounds like this is fascinating. If anybody has to leave, some of them folks have, I guess, gone through, but feel free. Okay, is it okay to, for those who can stay? Because I also want to point out before you leave, right? You have items over here also for folks to take a look at.
Okay.
But for anybody, I know some of them have to fear for their jobs at the state, right? Okay.
I'll cut it short.
No, I keep for those are just that you didn't think that some folks were leaving.
Anyway, since we crossed the border on the bicycles, I decided that I would pedal the bike from Nuremberg to Frankfurt, and you have, there is our path. Did you hear me here? Did you hear me? Here is Nuremberg, and there is Frankfurt. But immediately, as soon as we left the camp of Nuremberg, we hitchhiked a truck, and the truck followed this, but then took us all the way to Aalen and dropped us off at Aalen. We wanted to somehow stay somewhere under some protection because it started raining, but city police kicked us out as tramps. Well, my wife was on the verge of tears, but then we realized that we have friends in Karlsruhe, which is down in the southwest. And 5 years earlier, I helped them a little bit, material. So we decided that we would go west, visit these friends, perhaps stay with them overnight, and then go north. Well, we did. We made it to Karlsruhe. They decided that my wife was exhausted, that she would stay with them, and I could hitchhike